Welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 98, Dark Waters.
And the pirates thereof.
Right?
Couldn't quite call it Pirates of Dark Water because, the cartoon.
Fair.
Yeah. Good episode.
Yeah.
Lots of interesting subtext in the episode, or
A lot of
not really subtext, but not outright saying, just pointing in certain directions,
and also a lot of inclusion of meta stuff, and controversy at the end.
Yeah. I've got some speculation in my notes, so.
But from the top of the episode, we begin where we left off.
Yep.
Them speaking to Essek.
Yep. Yeah, we begin literally like the next beat, because the one beat is he eyes Beth. The first beat is, oh, I'm the goblin from before.
Yeah. Yeah. But they let him go. And Jester remembers her mother, which is something that I pointed out last week.
Yeah. And Ford follows after her.
Yes. We got the fact that this plan has been in the works for 3 years.
Yeah. And game time is just about a year.
Yeah. Matt mentioned the Biting North.
Mm-hmm.
That's Dorogna has interest up there.
Yeah.
And he mentioned a settlement that Caleb had heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And Essek also mentioned the Lens and the Ogden Trust.
Yeah.
I think that's a play on augury, is my guess.
Yeah.
And the Lens has a lot of potential double meanings as well.
Yeah. That
I liked.
I like covert societies, groups, guilds, whatever, to have names like that, the Lens, the Road, the clock, so that it can be talked about without being talked about.
Right.
A lot of times if I'm building a world, the Thieves Guild will have a name like that.
Yeah. There's some talking amongst themselves after Essek leaves. And Caduceus, well, no, that's not, it's actually before Essek leaves.
Yeah. Caduceus
floats the idea of a heist.
Yeah. And that's
very subtle, because he's talking to Essek, well, when they find out, he says. And Essek's like, well, we better hope we're not around. And he says, yeah, well, hopefully they'll get it back before they know it's missing.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, it plays into Essek's naivete a lot, this conversation. I think he's probably a low wisdom character, or not overly high wisdom. He seems to have entered into this deal with the Severus Assembly. I think his wisdom has to be that of a warlock.
So you're looking at it as he is a useful idiot?
Not so much an idiot, just, again, naive. Naive doesn't mean idiot. To be an accomplished wizard, you have to be intelligent.
It's true.
But, and the line that really kicks that for me is, well, there's a mutual respect, at least on an intellectual level. I don't really think the Severus assembly respects anyone.
I think they respect anyone who studies the arcane. I think
anyone outside of their elite is just pawns to be used.
That is definitely true of some of them. I don't know if we could say it about all of them.
Well, possibly not, especially since we haven't had much, if any, interaction with some of them. But I'm speaking of the organization as a whole.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the organization as an entity, not the individuals within.
Yeah, the Martinet and Trent are definitely in that.
Right?
Mold.
Definitely, and I think what's her name? Doss.
Yeah, Verogna.
Verogna, yeah. I think she's in that category too.
Yeah.
Especially after the one shot.
But I don't think necessarily the guy that helped them in Zadash is that bad. The one who likes animals.
Yeah.
At least I think that is Matt's way of foreshadowing to the players that he's not a bad guy.
Yeah. Matt does like to, and I do too, mix with the, shades of gray. But yeah, I don't think they see him as someone they respect. They see him as some and means to an end.
Yeah.
And the fact that he thinks he has this autonomy, he thinks he's, that they're not gonna turn on him. At least he gives that impression. Tells me he's fairly naive, and that plays into the fact that he doesn't deal with people a lot. He doesn't have friends. He doesn't interact with people other than professionally. I don't think he's very insightful, intuitive.
You have a good argument. But I think he's done a lot in his life to gain the autonomy that he would need to study the beacons the way he wants to study them. And I think his job as sort of the secret policeman of the dynasty put him in a position to make contacts within the Empire.
Yeah.
Just the way cops let confidential informants go. I think he let some Imperial agents go and started this whole thing.
Yeah. I mean,
and maybe he did it. Maybe even originally, his letting go of this agent may have even had the Bright Queen's blessing, because maybe it was an attempt to get the children and the beacon that was lost in battle up north back.
Yeah. That's possible.
So I don't think he's quite as passive or as much of a victim as you are thinking he is. I think he is.
I don't necessarily think he's a victim. I think he's definitely done this to himself. He's put himself in over his head, and he doesn't realize it.
Well, no, he said as much. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Maybe it's more overconfidence than naivete, but
yeah. But I think there were two major things laid down in the discussions about what to do about Essek. One is Caduceus's idea to steal the other beacon and return to the Bright Queen without implicating the dynasty and without casting blame on anyone in the Empire. Because they're adventurers. If they steal it from the Empire, they can go to the Bright Queen and say, in our adventures, we found this.
Yeah.
So it gets them the beacon back. It gets it out of the hands of the evil people in the Empire.
Yeah.
And no one can do anything about it on a political scale. Anyway.
Yeah.
Barring that, or as part of that, the Mighty Nines are now essentially on board with Caleb's quest to assassinate at least one member.
Sans Caduceus.
No, Caduceus was on board for the assassination. He was not on board for blowing this whole thing open and like going on a quest for justice or anything. But of all of the assembly people, Caduceus is going to be definitely willing to end Trent because Trent is still training Vorstruckers.
I think if there's a way to do it without killing him, I mean, he even said as much. He said, because when Caleb was talking about wanting to get at least Trent, if not more, he said, so that they don't make more of him. He said, no, remember, that's the key of what you want. That's the root of what you want, is no more kids being hurt.
I think Caduceus is hoping that to help Caleb be a better person, that he will help him get to the point to make the choice and not kill Trent.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be what Caleb does.
Right. But he's, you know, he's like, because he was like, I'll go. He wasn't really on board. He was more like, oh, this is what needs to happen, but let's look at other ways, you know. So he's, you know, not fully on board. He's as on board as he is with most of the Mighty Knight's decisions since he's joined with them. Well, if that's what has to be done, but really?
Yes and no, because interestingly, this is the first time that he put his foot down.
Yeah.
Because in the past, he's sort of, you know, maybe we don't want to do that, guys. Maybe, you know, try to be better people. This is the first time where he's like, no, I will not allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And I think in large part, it's because the Mighty Nine have helped him with his shit. His stuff's done.
Yeah.
So if they want to kick him out because of his views,
so be it.
So be it. Yeah. I'm not going to allow. I think he's at the point where, you know, I had to put up with this, with their shady behavior, because we were on the path the Wild Mother set out for me. And maybe that path is still with these people, but that doesn't mean I have to put up with their shit anymore.
Maybe, to a degree. To a degree, you're right. I think part of it is also helping, because Ford still is being tempered into
an Oath of Redemption paladin?
Hell, Oath of whatever. You know, ancient or redemption. But
redemption was all over this episode.
It was. And I've been saying that since before he became a paladin, that it should be that.
Yeah.
And I am super excited about that.
Yeah.
I still stand by my last week's reference that Oath of Ancients.
And Turn the Traveler. Yeah. Although we had some comments on YouTube saying that because he's an archfey, that might not work.
Yeah.
Which is a fair point.
It is. But
I loved, and Travis also loved, Caduceus's line about closure after Bo's like, look, justice will bring closure. He's like, I found we don't get closure until everyone's finally in the ground.
Yeah.
And his reminder of be gentle in your motives.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really powerful. He was the early lead for my MVP. I did give him a very close second, almost a tie with Travis for MVP. We'll get more into Travis's stuff later, but a lot of that early stuff is why Taliesin was my front runner for most of the episode. And
I struggle with this one.
I struggle
trying to ID.
Yeah, I've got it written Travis/Taliesin because I was.
But the battle at the end is what solidified it for me for Taliesin. So yeah. But anyway, rescuing the Ruby of the Sea.
Yep.
Interesting way Matt played that. And I wonder how panicked she was.
Yeah.
Because she's a performer and she knows who she needs to play to. Mm-hmm. And she was playing the game.
Well, and from the sound of it, several of them were people she was familiar with anyway.
Yeah.
Which probably helped.
Yes. But it seems she was all too ready to GTFO.
Well,
when Jester got there.
Even if you're doing okay, if you are, if it is your fear, it's going to be emotionally taxing.
Yeah. It's
not going to take very long for you to be drained and ready to go.
Yeah.
Even if it's a good experience.
It's fair. And we had the conversation about the hat.
Yes.
I enjoyed. And
that was just pure Jester fucking with Ford. No, just say what you want. No, but you do look good. No, but just fine, I'll take the hat in rush order.
Part of me thinks we got an inside view of their marriage. And how Travis, it makes me wonder when they go to her parents' house, how Travis is. And if he's the same way. If there's any part of that there.
Maybe. I think if anything, this is an exaggerated version of
Yeah.
Yeah. But you get the character drawn of yourself and it's overly exaggerated.
Yeah. But I'm also convinced this episode saw the death of Forrester.
Yeah.
That ship is sunk. And only Sam is gonna be on it, I think.
I think that, and this is just a possibility, I think we may see it being done from one end, but because it's done, Ford may be like, no, wait. Because he did that before. When she was like, he's not interested, I'm going to back off. And then he started in the pirate arc.
It will depend on which cleric casts Revivify.
It's going to be Caduceus.
Jester's closer.
Jester's going to go to Orly. Both have a strong bond to Ford, but Jester is the one with the bond to Orly, being the apprentice.
That's true. And maybe she'll finally get the secrets of the gem tattoos out of Orly.
Yeah, she's kind of been his apprentice. I think it's going to be Caduceus, because he can get to him, and Jester going to Orly. Because they're both dead.
Yeah. I'm also looking forward, if they can bring Orly back, to the discussion of why they were focusing on him.
Yeah.
Because they basically left Marius alone.
Yeah.
And were going after Orly and Ford. And like, they didn't have to kill him.
But they did.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's something about it.
Yeah.
And
so I'm really interested to see how Matt sort of tied Orly into either Ford or Vandren.
Yeah. Well, that could be it. It could be to silence him because he let them on. Because I don't remember Matt making any rolls for stealth checks for the NPCs to notice anything and raise the alarm early.
So,
or that could be why they let Marius go and just went after Orly.
Well, 11th level warlocks have 3 spell slots.
Yeah.
He cast 2 spells in that fight that we saw, but Matt said his last spell slot. So he used Dimension Door to get into Ford's cabin.
Okay.
Because I thought about that after.
Yeah.
How did he get there? Why didn't anyone notice? Because normally Matt would.
Yeah.
Let somebody
there was
make
no
a roll.
rolls.
Yeah.
Well, I get why none of the players made rolls. They were all below deck.
Yeah.
And the captain's quarters isn't below deck.
Yeah.
You know. But there should have been a chance for the NPCs to raise the alarm that were on duty.
Yeah.
Also
interesting, in a naval tradition, legal sort of sense, Orly deserved to die. He left his post.
Yeah.
There is a Napoleonic war trial of a lieutenant who was hung after a battle because he took the captain who was wounded below decks to be treated. And he was tried and hung for leaving his post because his post was on the bridge. Was at the helm. And he was like 15.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The other thing it could be is perhaps he's... so the organization is mostly of bards and performers kind of thing, but the Golden Grin is very big on keeping evil at bay, and if Orly's a member of the Golden Grin, they would target him.
That's true. Which would also give him a connection to Scanlan.
Yep.
And Orly's old enough and probably been plying the Lucidian Ocean long enough that he probably worked for the Meat Man.
Yeah. He could have very easily worked for the Meat Man. Those are the options.
Yeah.
Either he's tied to Ford or Vandren, he let them on, or he's a member of the Golden Grin. Those are the 3 things that I can see.
Yeah.
Being why.
They get the 2 days of downtime after the party, or essentially a day and a night.
Yeah,
and part of a day, where Jester shops for TravelerCon, buys her cloth streamers, clay to make her figurines, and then
Beth hangs out with her family.
Yep. No specifics given at first until they're about to leave.
Yeah.
Where we get the conversation that I said we were going to have, where Yeza says, "Go."
Yep.
and threw a curveball I wasn't expecting. Not really. Which was, it's not bad here.
Yeah.
Presumably Yeza knows his house burned down because the old lady could have told him.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen her, so I wonder if she's still there or if she went back.
Yeah, I'm not
once
sure.
Yeza got back. Like once Yeza was there with Luke.
Right.
She was really only there to watch Luke.
Yeah.
I
guess, yeah, that just depends on her motivations.
Yeah. But Yeza says, I was going to get a tutor. Beth says, ask the Ruby. She had tutors for Jester.
Right.
Which I don't know if that's accurate. I don't think Jester has mentioned tutors.
No, I think she has.
Did she?
I think she did early on in the campaign that she had tutors. But I think it was just it wasn't like professional tutors. I think it was other people at the chateau that would teach her.
Yeah. Because it seems like Blue was a big person in the maitre d'.
Yeah.
Caleb trying to get that collar to work.
Yep. And again, points to the north.
Yep. Matt mentions isocross and large blue crystals.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen one of those large blue crystals.
Yes, we have.
Near isocross. It was in the lair of a white dragon.
Yes.
So I think we'll be going back to that dragon.
It's possible.
I think it's damn near likely. That will be the next destination after TravelerCon. Because Caleb is going to want to look up this stuff. Caduceus is going to want to go home, so they're going to be heading that way.
So, is this before they deal with Trent? Are they going to go get this so that the collar is a weapon against Trent? Yeah, so it's before they deal with Trent.
Yeah. Well, and I think in Liam's mind, the way that he structured his story in his brain, and I think Matt has constructed the world in such a way as to back that up, is that they need to be 20th level or near that when they go to confront the Cerberus Assembly. Because what we have been told of the Cerberus Assembly is 300 years ago, when the then king tried to bring them to heel, they kicked the shit out of the Empire and forced the king to recognize their autonomy.
Well, we even mentioned back when we first met Trent at the pit fights that the Cerberus Assembly was going to be the Chroma Conclave of this campaign. The big bad big bad.
Yeah. But I think the Laughing Hand and Oban and all that was closer to that.
I don't.
But yeah, I think
the Laughing Hand in that was closer to the Briarwoods.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, it wasn't backstory linked like the Cerberus Assembly is, but as far as like difficulty level tier wise, I think we're looking at them being Briarwood level.
Yeah.
Now narrative wise, the flip, yes, the Laughing Hand, and that was the Chroma Conclave to the turret.
Yeah.
And the Cerberus Assembly is the Briarwoods because they're backstory specific, but tier wise, level wise,
that's fair.
So,
and taking out a white dragon, an ancient white dragon, will give them the confidence to take on the assembly.
Yeah.
So there are several reasons for them to go north. And I think Matt will present some of them after the meeting.
Yeah.
They will have a conversation with Ludinus, and Ludinus, wherein they will ask about Doragna and her interests.
Yeah.
And to get them away from the beacon, he will mention Isocross and the Frigid North, so that the Mighty Nine will get out of the Empire and let them work, because that's really what he's going to be trying to do.
And to be fair, it's the one section of the continent that we haven't really explored.
Yeah.
We've been through Jorhas, we've been through the Empire, we've been through the Menagerie Coast.
We've put our toe into the north.
But that's all.
Yeah. I think they head that way. They go to the Caduceus' Grove. They take care of whatever his family hasn't been able to take care of. And head north.
Yeah.
Jester makes more tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
And Caduceus goes shopping.
Buy some toys.
Yeah. And at first, I was like, why is Matt doing this? Like, why RP the thing? Other than it can be very difficult when you're the DM, when you have fleshed out these places and these NPCs for your players to interact with, and the 6 times they've been here, they haven't bothered.
Yeah.
And now there's a chance to do it.
Yeah.
And also, doing it like this helps make magic items feel important.
Yeah.
Over and above their mechanical benefits.
Yeah. And I think he planned on ending with the battle. And so if you skip past all that downtime, the battle would have happened too quickly. Wouldn't have gone on as long.
You are correct that he planned to end with the battle, come hell or high water, because
they did end late, but
today I looked at the timestamp, and the end of Ford's dream was about 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
which would have been a normal episode length.
Yeah.
And it would have been a cool spot to end on, with Ford taking damage, and we'll come back to this next week. I don't think Matt likes to do that though to the players.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. He definitely wanted to end on the battle.
Yeah.
But before we get into the battle, there was some stuff that happened in the 4 days leading up to it.
Yeah.
The biggest of which was the crafting circle. And, Caduceus giving his gifts. The fan to Bo.
Yeah. Brewing into Seagull's Day.
Yeah. A lot of... That is definitely a magic item that Marisha likes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily something I think that Bo would like, but that's something that Marisha likes. So
it's one that I enjoy personally.
Scroll of Telekinesis, Scroll of Flaming Sphere. They give the Flaming Sphere to Nott.
Yep.
And Caleb puts Telekinesis in his bag to transcribe later.
Yep. We hide the costumes in a vault of amber.
Yep. The fancy clothes,
Fancy
not necessarily
clothes.
costume.
And we have the whole meta. I just call it the vault of amber.
Yeah.
She named it after your friend. Share the wealth. The two parts that I love with that is Marisha being, you're really on with the branding. Am I? You don't even use my real name. And why would I do that unless it was going to end up in a player's handbook of some kind?
Yeah.
Let's not get silly.
Yeah. But they talk to Jester about the Traveler, and she reveals her feelings of betrayal. And they say, you're powerful. The power comes from you, not him.
Right.
They put that in her head.
And she's like, well, but he showed me how to use it, so isn't that something?
I'm beginning to wonder if Matt takes her power away the way he did Ford's.
Interesting. To what end, though? Other than just a rehashing of what we saw. I mean,
well, it's not a rehashing. Ford was afraid to lose his powers. I think if Jester loses her powers, it's a reflection of her crisis of faith.
Yeah.
Where Ford's was a rejection of what he had been given.
Yeah.
And not doing the job that he was told to do in exchange for those powers.
Right.
Where, I don't know, for me, a cleric who's having a crisis of faith should have a crisis of power to go along with it. I don't know how that manifests mechanically. Maybe she doesn't recharge spell slots until she really gets her faith back. Maybe the resurrection roll is made at disadvantage.
Or maybe it's like hit dice. You regain half. So half her spell slots.
Yeah. If it happens, it has to happen before TravelerCon, though, I think.
Yeah.
Because either way, TravelerCon will resolve the crisis of faith. Either she will have faith in herself and these ideals that she has devoted herself to, which is where clerics really get their power from.
Right. I mean, it even talks about them being able to, believe in a philosophy so much that it grants them their powers.
Right. Where she accepts that her power is not from the Traveler. But we've joked about her taking on Warlock powers. So maybe she says, okay, these are mine. What can you give me?
Yeah. That'd be the way to do it, I think.
Yeah. And then she learns that being a warlock is not as good as
being a...
yeah.
I don't know about that, but... Ford has a couple of talks. He has a one-on-one with Caleb.
Yeah.
It's really good. And
a lot of callbacks in this episode. And all of them from Caleb. Caleb to Yasha.
Yep.
When they're discussing the Vault of Amber and her wanting to mess around with forces that are good or killed. And, just stick to pit fighting. And with Ford, you held a sword to my throat. And you weren't exactly in the wrong.
Yeah. Well, and that, that conversation, him and Caleb, screams the redemption paladin that you were talking about. And as one thing that, hits me, he's like, hey, you know, we've been at odds, we've been friends, you know, he's like, and he talks about he got his power and he lost it and he's learning about this new power. And he says, and he talks about, you know, being the bully and forced and being bullied. And he says, I'm starting to learn that I don't have to do things to others the way they were done to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Redemption Paladin! Just when I had begun to give up the hope and the flame for the Redemption Paladin.
Do you think Travis is looking at that because it will be hard for him? Travis, more than anyone at that table, loves combat.
So,
and the Redemption Paladin combat is the last thing that they want to do.
Well, let's talk about this for a minute. Was Ford's death expected by Travis?
No. No.
Okay.
God, no. When Caleb counterspelled that teleport, Travis, his hand was on Liam's shoulder.
Yeah.
For like 90 seconds. And he kept trying to lock eyes with Liam. And the look on his face was, I don't have a backup character. You just saved my ass.
But other than that, he seemed very unfazed, even more so than normal. I know that normally when stuff happens to him, he's less fazed than when it happens to others. But, I mean, combined with and you do bring up a valid point with the dimension door, but no one noticed anyone coming. I really don't know that there was any rolls made. I mean, there may have been, but I don't think so.
Matt didn't roll any dice before that.
I didn't notice them. And I was looking for them on my second watch, you know. He seemed more so unfazed than normal about it. He does have the nostalgia where he goes with to his old haunts from when he was a sailor before. He has the talk with Jester, he has the talk with Caleb.
No, I think that is because this is the first time they are back in Nicodranus, and he is not beholden to Uk'otoa. That's why that happened. Because I am no longer the man I was when I was here, and I am not the man I was when I left here. Because he didn't want to talk to anyone. He just went to where he used to go. So I don't think, and if he is planning on doing Oath of Redemption, that's a nice way to foreshadow that choice also.
Yeah.
Not his death. Because he was shocked as hell when Matt turned the Eye of Sauron on him after Yasha's dream. And then when everything went down, his resignation to his death happened in the crow's nest.
Okay. You can see that. It just...
Because up until that point, he was fighting, he was doing what he could. But because Matt was like, you're not in your armor.
Yeah.
So what's your armor class without your armor? It's 10 plus your dex. From that point on, he was like, I am fucked. And he did everything he could to try to avoid damage while still staying in the fight. And to rouse everybody and everything. But when he cast the Eldritch Blast at him in the crow's nest, and he decided to use Relentless Endurance, and then Matt said, you said you were looking over, so roll a d10. Less than 10 or less, you're falling down. Otherwise, you'll fall back. He rolled a 9.
Yeah.
Where I think if I had been in Travis's place in that moment, I would not have used Relentless Endurance. Because that other Eldritch Blast is coming in. So I take a death save, okay. Now, I probably would have been under the impression that I was falling backwards. But that would have meant that when I hit the ground, that's 2 failed deaths, 2 failed saving throws, 1 from the Eldritch Blast, 1 from hitting the ground.
Yeah.
But he had faith that his friends were coming, which is why he stayed in the fight. So, and the reason I say I wouldn't have done it then, I would have waited until my cleric was up, because then when the cleric comes up and heals me, now I've got that buffer of hit points. I'm where I need to be. I've got support. Now I'll use Relentless Endurance. Both tell a story, but because you don't have to use it the first time. It just says once a day when you are reduced. So you can choose when to use it.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like the halfling luck,
right?
You know, in Addicted to Story.
Yeah.
You know, that line. And because he rolled the 1, he's like, I'm going to choose not to re-roll back. No, you have. No, I don't. Just as I can.
Yeah. And I loved Ashley, the look on Ashley's face and Matt having to explain to her that rogues have reliable talent, that when they get to a certain level, they don't roll less than 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, and Bo, definitely fantasizing about a threesome around that table.
Yeah.
Yasha ate the clay, and they all did too. So we now know if Yasha jumps off a cliff, they will jump too.
Maybe not Bo. Something about a past life or something.
That's fair.
Although she does have slow fall now.
Yep. And I loved Talison's. You know, the best part about this world is there was no glitter. You have now ruined that.
The herpes of the craft world.
So good. But speaking of Yasha and her dream.
Yes.
Matt basically confirmed in this dream that she can get her wings back.
Yeah. Now, is that foreshadowed, or does she have them back?
No. I don't think she has them back. It was foreshadowed.
Okay.
The first dream that she had, they started to grow back, and
because he ends it with, you know, you're good enough to serve. You're good enough to.
Yes, but she has to believe that.
Yeah.
It can't just be other people telling her. She has to believe that.
Yeah.
But also, she has to believe that what she has done is good enough to redeem herself.
Right.
What that is, we don't know. It may not happen.
True.
But Matt confirmed for her and us that it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that if she follows the plan and wants it, she can get her wings back.
Now, interesting, if she does do that, she is going to lose 1 strength and gain 1 wisdom, which will drop her to an 18 strength, which no big deal, same modifier, but raise her to a 10 wisdom. Which will take her from a -1 modifier to a 0 modifier.
Yeah.
Because of the subrace.
Well,
she'll lose the fear effect, but she'll gain the flight.
Yeah. I kind of want Yasha and Rini to interact. And we're coming to a point in the story where it can happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's...
Maybe that's
hopefully schedules align.
Maybe that's what it'll take for her to believe. Interaction with another ASMR.
Yeah. Although she's a scourge, I think. Although I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah. Ford's dream foreshadows the attack that's about to happen beautifully. So good.
No. Doesn't really foreshadow so much as coincide with.
No, it foreshadowed. When he summoned the falchion, that was the foreshadowing.
Okay.
And or when he summons his sword, and it's the sword of fathoms, it's the falchion with the eye.
Yeah.
And that was the foreshadow. Because it wasn't until then that Matt says you feel a piercing a pain in your chest. I think it's worse. And that's when he wakes up to someone putting a sword in. Scions of the Deep.
Yep.
And Sea Spawn. They fought Sea Spawn before. And Matt even dropped a hint that this was coming when Orly says we got to go around the reef.
Yeah. So, what is it? Inkjaw?
Inkclaw.
Inkclaw. Is that where Ukatoa is?
I don't know. Because Ford's dreams showed he saw 3 shooting stars landing. I think Ukatoa is probably somewhere in the triangle that those 3 places make. In relation to which one he is closer to, I don't know. But it could be that he's closer to Inkclaw because that was the first one broken. So he's wormed his way that way, as it were. I think whether he is there currently or comes out there is 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I think.
Yeah.
So I had a thought, and I don't know if we'll ever have this answered. But they kept asking, how many of these swords are there? As many magic weapons as his warlocks consume.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they consume one, another sword of fathoms is birthed.
Yep, exactly.
And Ford swallowed 2. There were 2 swords of fathoms there.
Plus however many Vanvin swallowed.
Yep.
Plus however many this new person swallowed.
Yep. So that was where my head went when that question was asked.
Yeah, and well, we had touched on that before when he first swallowed the sword. And
where did they go?
Where did they go? When he swallows another one, what happens to the other one? You know?
And are these just what Ukatoa uses to give out?
Yeah.
Matt, in his stress to get the combat going and the lead up, reminds Ford that he's not in armor, but doesn't say anything to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that donning and doffing a shield even takes 1 action. And no one took that action. You, Laura, Jester.
She sleeps in her armor.
Fair enough. And she wears leather. She wears light armor. And so
she wears a breastplate, doesn't she?
Nope. Studded leather. She's in light armor.
Well, it's still a 12 check every morning.
How we play it.
That's per the rules, isn't it?
Nope.
No.
The rules as written is light armor you can sleep in without issue. And the heavier armors, you can either make a check or you just get exhaustion.
I thought it was any armor you make a check and it's the...
No, that's the way I run it. And I set the DC as the AC bonus.
Yeah.
Which makes light armor easy to do. Especially if you have a +3 con like she does.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Matt has never done that. Anytime they have rested.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that if you're trying to spring the fight as a surprise. Who's sleeping in their armor tonight? Unless you ask that every night.
Right.
Which I do, usually. So, yeah. And as Matt pointed out, and I made the same conclusion that Matt did after the fact on Twitter, which was, after the first round of combat, I was like, hey, wait a minute. And then I started thinking about it. Jester would lose 2 AC. Yasha loses 1 or 2. They don't lose a lot if they're not in their armor. The 2 of them, anyway.
Yeah. Well, if I was Yasha and we're playing like that, I'd just doff the armor, put on the bracers. Because with the bracers, you have the same AC. She already discussed that.
Yeah.
It's the same AC.
Yeah. Yeah. She just wears the armor because of reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And Bo, you can sleep in bracers without a problem. So
Bo has the same AC.
Yeah.
Caleb's shirt, the Elven chain, the mithril,
is as light as cloth.
It says you can sleep in it without any ill effect in the description.
Yeah.
So that's a...
So, yeah. And the big one, I guess, that chat went crazy with was the 300-foot range on the stunning from the Deep Scion. Or Scion of the Deep.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that. Extending the range of your monsters' abilities is a most excellent way to throw a curveball at your players.
Yeah.
Without really breaking the monster.
Yeah, you up the thing to use something lower level against higher level things because you like the flavor of the thing.
Like he didn't even necessarily up it. He increased the range.
Yeah,
which just means it's a terrain thing.
Yeah,
but even a 30-foot range, when it's auditory on a boat, if you're in the middle and the boat is 60 feet long, you're getting everywhere on that boat.
Yeah.
Anyway, whether it's 60, 30, or 30, 60, 100, 300 feet, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that to me was another moot point that people were upset about. And I made the comment, on Twitter that Ford has never got his action economy right.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. Because he always summons his sword as part of his move, basically, when it's supposed to be an action.
Yeah.
They have ruled, essentially, because Matt hasn't called him on it,
that it's equivalent to drawing from a sheet.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yep. The only time it breaks anything is in a social situation where Ford has dismissed the sword as a way to sneak a weapon in. That's the only breakage that can happen in that scenario.
Yeah.
But Travis is so used to playing as Grog and his bag of holding of weapons and just shoot, shoot, shoot. I mean, there were fights in campaign 1 where Grog drew like 3 or 4 weapons out of the bag.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah. But this next episode, whoever Essek and Ludinus are worried about is going to attack the peace conference.
Yeah.
I don't know if that person is Empire, Dynasty, or the Plank King.
Yeah.
Because the Plank King could do with some political hostages.
Yeah, and we talked about that last
Yeah.
week. You know, about
So I think we find out who they were worried about.
find out who they were worried about.
The transfer happens.
See some revivifies.
Yeah. And possibly raise deads if the revivifies don't work.
Yeah.
And we also will see. I think Traveler Con happens this next episode.
You think?
I think so.
I don't know. If we have the talks and a battle, because someone attacks the talks. Because we're going to deal with the aftermath of this battle and raising people. Then we go to the talks. If someone attacks the talks, that might be a full episode. We may have to wait another week for Traveler Con.
That's a good point. And waiting another week would make Traveler Con the 100th episode.
So that's my call.
That's true. But we have
Travis and Ashley.
Yep, the Dreamers.
All right.
We'll see you guys